Okay, my name is Kurt Brown. I'm the Senior Grant Advisor at Caribbean Export Development Agency based in Barbados.
Okay, you are giving an overview of how the funding, there are two types of schemes.
Yes.
Can you go over that for us?
Sure. We have the Caribbean Export has a program with the European Union called the Regional Private Sector Development Program, which is funded for 5 years to the tune of 28 million euros. The program or workshop we're doing today is focusing on one key specific area, which is grant funding for private sector firms within CARIFORUM. And Belize being a part of CARIFORUM means that we have a right to promote this program to Belizean firms and individuals who are seeking to export goods and services. The facility we offer is a grant facility. We have two types of funding. One is the small grant, which is 5,000 euro, and one is a large grant, which is 30,000 euro. And firms have the opportunity to get funding to fund anything that can enhance the competitiveness of their company or business. Simply put, if they needed to develop a website, if they needed to upgrade equipment, if they needed to train staff, if they needed to market or promote their business or services, if they also needed to attend trade shows, they could get funding. The things that we do not fund taxes, buying land, buying cars, or paying debts. But generally speaking, it's up to the applicant to clearly demonstrate what they need funding for within our eligibility criteria. To be eligible for a grant, the person or firm needs to be legally registered. They also should be operating for at least 2 years, and they should have financial statements confirming that they've been in business for at least 2 years.
Okay.
It's a reimbursable grant, which tends to pose a challenge for a number of firms because you have to apply, you're approved, we sign a contract with you. You have a specific time of 6 months to complete your project activities, submit your expenses to us, and then we reimburse. So no monies are given to you up front. What we try to encourage firms who may have low cash flow to support their project, that in submitting their application, they get support funding from their financial institution, either by a loan or overdraft facility, or even the Development Finance Corporation who provides, which is business development loans to firms. You have opportunities there to explore that can support your funding.
Okay, that sort of restricts the organization, so to speak, though, because I noticed that the scheme is a little different now. If you don't get the funding to start, then you can't get reimbursement.
Well, we never gave funding up front.
Okay.
Our program has always been, since it's been around from 2008, even though this is a different funding cycle, it has always been a reimbursable grant. So each applicant must demonstrate at the time of application that they can finance their project on their own. We only reimburse a percentage. The maximum reimbursement we give is 30,000 euro in the case of the big grant and 5,000 euro in case of the small grant.
Okay. And Belize has benefited.
Oh yes,
organization.
as I mentioned earlier this morning during the first part of the presentation, it has been quite interesting, our collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce here in Belize and BELTRAIDE as well, where over the last maybe 3 years we've seen where there has been, let me say, I don't want to say there hasn't been interest. We probably never marketed the program well enough in Belize,
Okay.
but we've gone from 0 to having 12 companies actually benefit from our program.
What percentage does it represent?
Well, it represents maybe about 3 or 4% out of all the 15 member states.
Okay.
So it's not bad, but if you were going to compare that to other member states, you'd have to put that within the context of excluding countries like Jamaica, Barbados, Dominican Republic, and Barbados. Why? Because those countries...
Barbados twice.
Oh, sorry, Barbados. So it's, did I say Jamaica, Trinidad, Dominican Republic, and Barbados.
Okay.
The reason being is that those countries have always had a lot of donor funding assistance or programs available to the private sector, so they've had a lot more experience. So what you find is countries like the OECS territories, like countries like Antigua, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, if you include Guyana, Belize, and the other CARIFORUM territories, their exposure to these kind of programs have always been limited somewhat, or they have lacked access to persons who can actually write these kinds of applications or proposals. So the purpose of this workshop today is pretty much to provide that information so that Going forward, persons can be encouraged to either consult BELTRAIDE or the Chamber of Commerce for some form of underground assistance, but still have access to us in Barbados so that we can get them to access funding.
The organizations in Belize who have taken advantage of the funding across the board, across the spectrum, or?
Yes, they've been in manufacturing. Actually, if you were to visit our website at www.carib-export.com, there is a page called Grants, and we have a list of beneficiaries. And if you click on it, you'll see the firms that have actually benefited from Belize. So we have had firms that are in manufacturing, from juices. We also have a magazine, Prime for Success, that features one or two of the firms from Belize, and the shrimp manufacturing, agro-processing, or growing as well. So there is room for more firms to come, and from taking a look here today, I would say we have a lot more newer faces here. There are one or two persons who have applied in the past who may not have been successful, but they're here today to try and see how they can become successful.
I notice you're focusing on proposal writing.
Yes.
Has that been one of the problems in the past, perhaps in them getting funding?
Yes. The reality is we have a real problem in the region, meaning within CARIFORUM, where persons just are not able to articulate their information in a structured way to get funding, not just from our program, but from other donor programs. And we feel if we do provide this kind of awareness and training, it will allow persons not only to access our programs, but to access some of the other programs that can provide funding that would be instrumental in growing their business.
BELTRAIDE is a partner with Caribbean Export. We actually sit on their board on behalf of the government of Belize. So we are their oftentimes on the ground in the country partner. And because we deal with SMEs, small enterprises in Belize, and their product here is a grant scheme, it is the perfect partnership for us to bring our group of enterprises to this workshop to be able to aid them in getting access to grant money.
And in the past, have a lot of organizations in Belize taken advantage of this push towards Caribbean export?
It is. Last year we had an excellent turnout, actually the biggest one in the region, because every year when they launched a new call, they go to each country to do preparatory workshops. Last year Belize had the largest turnout. This year, again, as you can see, is a sizable turnout. Last year, we also had 3 companies successfully accessing the grant scheme. With all EU-funded grant and projects, the application process is tedious, not difficult, but this tedious. So all the more reason why you need the workshop to help you to break it down into small bites. So we're hoping that this year we probably could go 5-6 companies this year that successfully access the grant scheme.
5-6 companies out of a group this size is still a small amount. What are some of the challenges that you think keep them back from maybe even applying for or in accessing the funding?
Ironically, part of the application process is your business plan. So when they're asking you to, what is your development plan, what is your marketing strategy, those simple things, a company that is not sophisticated in doing business management would not know how to fill out those sections. So this is where BELTRAIDE comes in. This is the reason why we sit here. Again, that's another assistance that we provide through the Small Business Development Center or through the main office in Bombapan, where we sit with you. So the most often is the intimidation, the perceived intimidation of the long application process. And then also knowing that in this regard, it requires that it's a reimbursement fund. So that means monies need to be up and then they will reimburse you. So again, for this particular funding, that also makes it less easy to access. Not difficult, I refuse to say that.
I'm sorry, did you explain how what BELTRAIDE's role is in helping us to improve that percentage?
That percentage, okay. The role is simple. It's the business support aspect of it. It's having them, working with them to fill out the application, and that can be simply, for some enterprise, it might be going back a few steps to making them understand what is your business plan, what do you want to do, what's your marketing, what are the products you want to do, how are the products going to look, do you need the services, what you're going to do. So sitting with them and actually having them refocus. So again, the small business development is designed for that, and some of the technical staff at the main office in Bombapan, they're designed to provide assistance. Last year, that's how we got our 3 companies in, because of that support.
Okay, can we get your name and in what capacity? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I didn't get that.
Lehia Melanie Gideon. Yes, Lehia Melanie Gideon, Deputy Executive Director, BELTRAIDE.